If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell icon to get the latest updates.
Okay, yeah, so basically we'll start from where we left off last week. Last week we basically discussed all the evaluated expressions field, basically everything which is required to build out an evaluated expression fields. And we just went through the summary of what the evaluated expression is and what the lookup range band is. We stopped at when we were making our true false condition. So we'll continue from there, where we are trying to build a true false condition, that is a function, to basically recognize if a particular employee's salary is greater than $100,000. So if it's greater than $100,000, give me a yes and or a true, and if it's not, then give me a false. So that's where we were. I think we discussed about this particular cal field example in detail that day. So I'll just move very quickly to the tenant and build out that field, which basically tells us if somebody is in the range of $100,000 plus or not. Okay. So the field name that I'll choose is to TNF salary about 100K. Oh, okay. And the business object, since the salary is all tied up with the worker BO, so business objects, I'll just choose worker here. And the function that I'm looking at is true and false. Okay. So if I'll go here, the field that I'll be looking to basically compare is total base pay, because we don't have the salary exact field. So the total base pay amount should be the right field, the base, and it's say the base pay for an employee's primary job. And this sums up all the comp elements. So yeah, this is a perfect one. So I'll take this one, which will give me the total base pay amount of an employee. And now the operator that I have to choose is, since it's a true false condition, right? What I'm trying to say is every employee having salary greater than $100,000 should be coming out as yes to my report or field, wherever I will be using this. It's going to be greater than, and this is where I enter the value. Yeah, so this basically tells us that every employee with a total base pay greater than this one will be coming out as true, and all the other ones will be coming out as false. So this is a very simple example of how you can create a cal field when the function said is true and false. You can add, actually, if you look at it, there are several other cases here, which is if we can create a few, basically cal field to look at if employees enroll in an HSA benefits plan as well, which is going to be very simple. You just have to choose currently enrolled benefits plan and choose the HSA. So everyone who is already enrolled will be coming out as yes, and who is not will be coming out as no. And now I'm going to create a field that when the employee has 1 year of services less. Again, you can actually look at the tenure field that we created in the last sessions we had, where we're looking at the employee's tenure in number of days. So we can compare it with either 1 year or in days of 365. So anyone who has already have a tenure of 365 plus will be coming into the 1 year of service. Sorry, anyone who has a number of days less than 365 will be categorized as person who has served 1 year or less. So we can do that. And these are two examples of the evaluated expressions where we'll be using the true and false conditions to build out some of the cases based on the business needs. So we'll be looking at the evaluated expression in the next slide. And this is whatever we have learned about constant text, about the conditions, about the true and false scenarios. It's all come down to be used as part of the evaluate expression. So basically, what evaluate expression does, uh, it basically have different series of conditions, and based on the what condition is satisfied, it provides us with the result. So what I mean is, every time when you run a report, or whenever you run whenever you run a business, let's say if this is added to a business process condition, so whenever you run it, what it really does is it runs it right there at the real time, and it tries evaluated the every condition that is there. If any of the condition is met, then it brings out that value. Otherwise, there's a mandatory thing to set the default value as well, so that you don't run out into situations where not any of the basically conditions are true and you don't have a default value. So if any of the condition is true, that value will be will be coming up. If no conditions are true, then it will basically go to the default value. And it basically works in the sequential manner, where the one which is entered at the top will be prioritized first, and then it goes to the second one and the third one, and whatever the sequencing will be. So in real time, if you look at it, it is kind of if else if conditions, where firstly the if condition will be evaluated. If this is not true, we will move to the second else if. If this is not true as well, we'll move to the third else if. If this is true, let's say example, it will bring out the value of high here. Let's say if this is not even true, right? So we don't have any of the conditions true which were mentioned. We'll move basically see as we'll move to basically the default value, which is no conditions are true, which looks like only an hyphen. So the evaluated expressions works on the condition of if else if, where any of the conditions which are true will be bringing out the value. If no conditions are true, we'll be going to the default one. We'll basically see one example of how evaluated expression really works, and what is the best way to really build this out. So as I move into the tenant, I think the best one will be again to build out things you know based on a salary approach as well. So what we'll do is, anyone who has a salary range of above 100K will be categorized as high salary, right? High salary earners, let's say that. And anyone who has from 50,000 to $99,000 will be categorized as medium, and anyone who has less than 50,000 will be categorized as low. So we have one condition in place right now which tells us that the employee has a salary greater than 100,000. So I'll create another one because you have to really look at three conditions, right? So I'll basically create three conditions to be used as part of my evaluated expression. So another one is anyone who is between 50K till 9K. Our business object will be again worker here. The function is true and false. So since I'm only, I'm kind of using the same cal field data, what I'll do is I'll try and copy the one instead of creating a new one. So you can also copy if the conditions are really the same and you have to just change the value. What I'll do is I'll just use a shortcut CF colon, which is cal fields colon, and okay, this is the one that I created, right? So above 100K, if I write, this is what it brings out. And what I'll do is I'll basically use this cal field to copy. I'll give it a name. So it says this, so I'll say 50,000. Anyone with the greater than or equals to 50,000 plus another one is total base pay less than or equal to 99,000. So anyone with a range of 50,000 to 99,000 will be basically coming on to this particular region. I hope this cal field is is clear that when you are trying to find out a range, you have to define two fields. Otherwise, if I'll only define the first one, right, it will also include employees with salary ranges above $100,000. So I have to set a restrictions. I have to really set an end condition with a lower and a higher range. And that will restrict my cal fields to only look at values between 50,000 and 99,000. Perfect. So another one that I need is anyone with a salary range less than $50,000. I'll copy this as well. And it'll be and I'll get rid of this one because we have only a lower range here. So total base pay less than 50,000. Yeah, that's what I need. Okay. So what I'll do now is I have 3 cal fields now, and based on that cal fields, I'll really use them as part of my bigger field, which is the evaluated expression. So maybe I'll just use right from here. Okay, is what is evaluated expression? We'll write eval here. What I'm trying to do, we are trying to define salary range. Okay, so again based on worker, because the data we are pulling is based on worker, and the function that we are using here is evaluated expression. Okay, cool. The first one is the field type. Okay, this is very critical because based on the field type you choose, you will be able to pull only that type of data in it. So the best way to really see if what field type to use. So if I'll go back to our cal field, right? So we created 3 cal fields, right? If you look at it, our cal fields here are basically giving us true and false conditions. Okay, this is based on true and false conditions. The values that we'll bring here will be text constants, right? It will be text constants. So the return type that we'll have is text fields, right? High, low, mid. These are text constants value. So since you already know that the values that will be brought as part based on the conditions are text, that basically tells me that the value we'll be looking at is text. Okay. If let's say, if we are going to bring out currency fields, dollars, Singapore dollars, INR, or any other fields, right? Euro, pounds, then I'll be looking at the currency. If I have to bring out only true and false, right? If this condition is met, bring me true. If it's a true and false condition field, we'll be choosing at Boolean. Again, it really depends on what type of field you'll be bringing out. Here we're only bringing out the text fields. That's why I'll be taking the field type as text here. I'll put my 3 conditions here. And how do you really define that which one will be coming up at the top, one at the middle, and lastly at the bottom, right? So when you really have to define it, you look at the bands here. So my guess is maximum of the population will be basically fall into, and the less time it will take for the cal fields to bring out the results will be between $100,000 and less than people $50,000, because it's an easy field to calculate. it doesn't have too many conditions. It's just one condition which looks at, which is basically bring out the employees with a salary range above $100,000, and another one is bring me a set of employees with the salary range less than $50,000. So I'll just use that as an example. Okay, this is one field. Another field is around 50K. Yeah, this is what we created. And the last one, right, which is 50K and 99K. Yeah. So we now have three conditions here, which we have put. And based on this condition, we are trying to bring out some results. And what results we are trying to fetch is, bring me the value. Let's say if whatever employee has a salary range above 100K, bring me a text value of, let's say, medium here. Let's say if somebody has already created a cal field which says medium, right? This is already in there, right? This is a global field. It's a text constant. If you look at it in the detail, this is text constant medium. This is perfect. This is what I can use, right? I'll use the ones which is already there in tenant. Why create a new one when you have already there? And why increase the load on the tenant? I mean, and less than 50,000 are low. So I'll just see if we have anything like low. We do have it. It's based on worker. Yeah, I mean, I'll prefer the one which is on the business object of global, because text constants are something which are not bounded by the business object. It can be used in multiple places. So I'll stick to the second one. And then the last one is between, I'm sorry, it should be high, no? Yeah. So yeah, this is high, slow, this is medium. Yeah. So we have basically defined that based on this condition, bring me these values. If you look at it, the default value is mandatory and it has to be set. In this condition, I don't see employees not matching these fields, but this will not match if employee, let's say, doesn't have any salary at all entered, right? If an employee comes in and it doesn't have any salary entered on his profile, then you will not have this evaluated at all. So where do we go from there? If we don't have any of the below satisfied, we'll say we'll basically say empty string. This is a delivered field based on the worker. What it really does is it gives you, so basically it searches a worker by name and it just gives you a blank string. I mean, it doesn't reflect anything. So anyone who doesn't actually satisfy this condition will be not going into errors and will be just giving us an empty set. So that's fine with us, right? We don't want anything to be displayed for people who doesn't satisfy any of this or doesn't have any particular salary. So what I'll do now is I'll basically attach this to the report. I think we don't have I don't know if we really have a report that we can use. I think we do. Yeah, this is fine. I'll just use this one. I'll also put a condition. Let's say if it really comes up. I don't think it will, but it doesn't, right? Okay. Uh, let's see what values it brings us. This has come really blank for a lot of people, and that could be a case because they don't have a salary defined. But I'm gonna just sort this to see really if we have anyone with the values or not. Oops, there are people. Okay. Okay, yeah. Now it's all fine. So you see, there are employees which have been coming out with in the medium range, and you will also see employees in the high and the low range as well. So I'll just open a few employees from here. So this is the one with the medium. I'll take one with the low as well. Let's see. So if I'll yeah, so I'll take Pedro here. So Chelsea, right? If I'll go to the compensation of Chelsea, she has a total pay of 80,320, which is coming down um, in a range of medium, because we have defined the medium range to be between 50,000 to 99,000. So anyone which is gonna come in between will be categorized as medium range. For Pedro, if I'll go to the comp for him, it says 7,500, right? Which is low as per our definition of comp. And since it is low, we have basically categorized it into the category of where this low salary is below $50,000. The last one will be the high. So anyone with a valid with a salary above $100,000 will be categorized into the high. If I go to the comp, it's much higher than $100,000 for Logan, so she'll be categorized into the high category. This is how you basically use a evaluate expression field, where you define some conditions, and based on the conditions you bring out the values for them. What we'll do next is we'll also use the same example to build out a lookup range band function type field as well, because you'll see that even though we are achieving the same business problem, the way of defining it is little different, where you define, and you'll see the results will still be same, but there are other ways to basically look at it, right? So I am there in the field that we just created, right? So the evaluated expression, since it has multiple fields defined in it, right? Sometimes it gets really complex to actually know the flow of it. So there is something called as calculation hierarchy. Under the calculated field, if you go to this calculation hierarchy, right? What it really tells you is how this is being coming into effect, right? So whatever the fields that we have used, right, they are all outlined here. Okay. And you can basically just go in here and just see what fields are being used by what cal fields. Okay. So we have three constants here, the high, medium, low. We have three conditions now, which uses the total base pay amount as their base value. And they're all being categorized here. So using this one, you can really look into what calculation hierarchy we have been using, what fields we are using, how this calculated field is evaluated, and what is the process of really what is the process of really using these calculated field. So if it has multiple conditions, what are the text constants used? What are the other values being used? So this is very helpful when there are a lot of other conditions being added. If let's say there are 20 conditions added to a eval expression, then this really comes handy, because that way you'll be able to have a one shot look at where we are basically defining our fields. Okay, moving on to the one of the areas of optimization is planning your calculated fields. So there was one question about the performance that we really used to see, right? I want to just see if I have access to that. Yes, so I think you mentioned, or has right that day, about how do we really optimize, how do we really see our cal fields and what is being impacted. So this is one quick tip, right? So you have this edit report performance log settings. Okay, you have to really enable this. Okay, and now you have to define the particular report that you feel is taking a lot of time, and you really want to find out the issues that you think this report might be having, right? The particular field. So if I'll attach a report here, okay, I'll give it a log name, and this will basically say log until this particular time, right? And then stop logging at well. So if I'll click here, right, in the background now, we have this report being run by Workday to really see which fields are taking what time, okay? And to really see this particular thing in action, you go to the view report log, performance logs. So as soon as I run this particular report now, right, I have to really run it to see. So it takes a couple of minutes to really find out the performance thing. But what it really does is it basically runs every field. It just analyzes which is the field taking what time. And then it will give you a report log based with the time frames of which field is taking a lot more time than it should, and how can you optimize it. So you see, as soon as I run it now, I have this view report log performance. If I'll go here, this is where I am. We have all the fields being used as part of even the inline fields, right? The inline fields are there as well. And you can see here, this is the report processing time in milliseconds. I can sort this out like this, and it just tells me now that which one is the field which is taking most of the time. So if you see here, the eval defined salary range is the field that is taking most of the time. And if I have really to optimize my report, the first thing I have to do is I'll open this field up and try and optimizing this. But as soon as I optimize this, the whole report performance will be improved as a whole. So again, this has came like a couple of years late only, and we have been using this on a more frequent basis, these report logs, because report performance issues is not an unknown thing, and it happens very very often in Workday. So my suggestion would be always to use this particular report, particular task, to figure out which cal field is taking what time, and you can report back to your business and basically you can just provide them suggestions that this is what we can do to optimize it. Okay, yeah. Now, yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you. Thank you for showing this.
No problem. Yeah. Again, coming down to the planning your calculated fields, we have already seen that the best way to really plan your calculated fee is to take the approach of really understanding that the field that is being evaluated the most of the time and the field that have maximum of population needs to come up, in the first place. It has to be at the top, and then we can basically, just a second, I'll just connect back to our tenant again. I think this has gone. Yeah, okay, I'm here. Okay, so when it comes down to deciding it, so what I'm saying is anything which you feel is going to be validated the maximum number of times should be at the top, and then you take the top-down approach of making basically building out the field where the less evaluated fields needs to come at the bottom and the most evaluated field is coming at the top. What I mean here is, if you feel that the maximum of our company population lies in the range of 50,000 to 99,000, then you should have that field coming at the top. Because when Workday evaluates its, when Workday really runs its cal fields, right? What it does in the background is it goes to us in the first condition. It really checks all the workers in the system, everyone, right? And one that selected workers as being pulled out based on the conditions you have set, the next condition will only have the leftover employees to be looked upon. So when you have only the leftover employees to be looked upon, then you have a small population to be evaluated. That's why I'm saying if you feel that the maximum population will be covered as part of the first condition itself, then your approach to building out your cal fields will be in a manner where the maximum population will come at the top, then the minimum one, then the minimum, and lastly, the one which you feel will be least evaluated because it has a lot of less people in it. So that's just a performance optimization thing where you basically define your cal fields and design it in a manner where it takes a lot less time, because your report performances will be all based on your calculated fields, because Workday has already optimized their fields and they brings out results really quick. It's just whatever we create as a in the tenant is what drives our reports to run slow or fast.
Question.
And yeah.
So are we concerned here? Of course, our concern is report optimization, right? How to make our reports run quickly. But does any of the calculated field or number impact the efficiency of the tenant itself? Like if I build a report and there are 1,000 users who are going to be running the report, and it has calculated field, which is requires some time, is it going to slow down in general tenant for 100 people? Or is this a concern for a report writer? Thank you.
So basically, if you look at it in a manner, the tenant performances are impacted by what is running in the background. So until a calculated field is not being running in the background, it's just sitting on the tenant. Okay, it doesn't have any contribution to your tenant issues or tenant performances. The tenant performances are being impacted by how much level of things are already running when you are basically trying and accessing a report. And if there are 10 other reports which is already running in the background, right, that's when your performance issues kicks in. And those 10 reports that are already running in the background have a lot of heavy fields, lot of calculated restrictions that they go down, and calculated fields with a lot of data. That's where your performance issues kicks in, where there are 10 heavy load reports already running in the background, and now you're trying to basically run an 11th report. So your 11th report will definitely take some time to evaluate because your 10 reports are not being mannered or optimized in the best form. And then we basically look at the process monitor, which is another task in Workday, to really see that what's stopping my report to run, what's stopping things to be slow, right? And it's a whole new topic as a whole, where you optimize your tenant performances by scheduling your reports right. You're scheduling your integrations right. So when we go to the tenant and we have a vendor who wants some integration. We want some data from Workday. The first thing we suggest is these are the empty slots we have where we don't have any specific integration or reports running. So why can we schedule this integration, and can we send a report at this particular time, so that we basically have we have our integration or reports running without having performance issues and without having any glitches, because on that particular time frame, what I have optimized it, what I have really looked upon is it's an empty slot. And since we have time to run it, that way we'll be having that report running fine. Again, if you have chosen a time which has already 10 to 20 integrations or 10 to 20 reports already running, your report performance will definitely be impacted. I hope I answered your question.
So it means
Yeah.
that so what others are running at that time was also matters, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it does matter. Your Workday assigns you a particular memory, a space to your tenant, and it just fills up based on the number of executions happening in the tenant.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, perfect. This is again what we discussed about, where the planning comes in. You have level of compensation, evaluate expression, true and false conditions, and text constants. So this will be evaluated, maximum of time. You'll have text constants coming out for everyone. True and false conditions will be satisfied for a small population. True and false conditions, so evaluated expression will be coming up at the bottom, and the level of compensation being it's a level of high range or low range will be coming, the least evaluated one, because it can be same for a lot of other people too. So again, your design should be in a manner where the least evaluated will be basically be looked upon, and then when you build it, you will have the one which is highly being being evaluated should be coming at the top. Then this is the build phase, where the other one which has been validated least will be coming here, the least, and the one which is basically evaluated the least will be coming right at the bottom. So this is how you basically design your calculated fields while coming to evaluated expressions as a whole. I'll basically move to the another one here is the lookup range band. I'll just quickly sign in again. What happened? Okay. So the lookup range band, right? I'll quickly move to how we see the lookup range band. The lookup range bands are the kind of the same, where we don't have to create cal fields to define ranges. We already have them into the from and to value. So if I'll go to the create cal field task again, and what I'm doing here is I'm saying lookup range value. Oops, lookup range band, sorry, not the value, it's of cal field type. Lookup range band, and what I'm doing is salary ranges. Okay. What business object? Again, I'm dealing with salary, so it's a worker based thing. Function, I'm looking at lookup range band. Okay. The source field will be total base pay. That's what we have done, right? We have build our conditions based on the amount. So I'll take this one here. The decimal places do you want it in decimal? I don't think we don't want it in decimal, so I'll keep it as 0. Rounding is it will round down to the nearest value if it's a decimal place thing, but I don't think we have basically things being rounded up. If necessary, they'll round it up to the nearest one. Okay, you can definitely define right here what you want. So what I want is anyone with a range of 0 to 50,000, and this is inclusive of the two values. Okay, is going to be coming as low. Yeah, it is already taken 51,001 to 99,000. And then anyone with, so since I have to really give a two value as well, so I can just give a value which is really, uh, imaginary. I mean, you can't have someone with the value like this, right? Since it's mandatory to provide a lower band as well, so I can just provide them a value of something which is, way above, so that it just comes into the range. It's gonna be medium here, and it's gonna be higher here. So as you'll see, right, we have achieved a similar kind of thing in a much easier fashion when it comes to lookup range band. It is going to be acting the same way, but it is a functionality which is more natural in its manner to create when you're defining a range values. So this is where the lookup range band is really helpful. It's less complex. It's much more designed to give you values based on the ranges. And it's always suggested to use the lookup range band whenever possible when defining the ranges. If you don't have a range, you have only been pulling out value based on a single condition, and your return value is not a text constant, right? Or a constant value, then you can't use a lookup range band. In this case, we have a text constants being evaluated. Let's say if I have to basically say, if the salary range is 0 to 50,000, give me the name of the manager of that employee, right? The manager of an employee is not a text value. It's expression which is based on the workers manager, right? So we can't have this here. I can't pull workers manager here. I have to really rely upon my evaluated expression, because that is capable to pull in another cal field to bring out return values. Here I can just type it down, right? So if you have a range and a text constants or a numeric constants or any constants to be reflected, you use lookup range band. If you have calculated fields to be evaluated to bring out the values, you can only use evaluated expression. So this is how where you can really use these two values. I'm gonna attach this to report again to see in action how this is coming in.
We should expect that this is going to be more efficient, right, than valid expression.
It is, right, but as I said, the only disadvantage here is you can't pull cal fields. So these are all cal fields, right? When you look at the evaluated expression, these are all calculated fields. But as part of the lookup range band, it doesn't give you that option to pull out the calculated fields. It takes in only the constants. Okay, so we have typed this, right? We have typed this values. So if your demand requires you to pull out conditions based on another calculated fields, or bring out value based on another calculated fields, you have to rely on evaluate expressions. But if we are solving a business case where we are defining a range and we have to bring out a constant value, that is correct. We will be always be using the lookup range band in that case.
And that return value field where you typed it, it can be, I can type any text there.
You can type in, you can type in numeric, text, date, anything you like.
Thank you.
Okay, I have now added this again to just see in action as well. So we have these values coming in now. And this is the eval one, this is the salary one. And if you win, right, this is where we can really see our report logs as well. So I'm just ran this, right? We don't have our eval being validated because it's being valued as part of our salary ranges. But if you look at this, right, this is being running at 4387 milliseconds, 4386, let's say milliseconds, right? If I'll go back and show you the first one where we had the eval, it was taking 50404. So a less time has been taken to basically coming out with when we are using a lookup range band, because it's more natural. It's something which is delivered by Workday, and it has the natural tendency to bring out values based on the range it defines. So it's running the report much quicker that way if we'll use a lookup range band instead of evaluated expression. Again, and repeating it again, the only drawback is you can only define ranges and give it a constant text. You can't bring out something which is used by another cal fields, or you want to bring out values being in the cal field, so you can't do that. Okay. Again, example of we should be using a lookup range band where if there is a salary increase percentage, if you want to define it, that bring out the people with a salary increase percentage of medium, low, high. Again, the same thing where you define the percentages and you just bring out the value. Length of service being, it's a people with an experience, with a low experience or a medium experience, you can do it. Expense reports, overdue. Say somebody has overdue of expense reports being filed into Workday, by how many days you have really, overdue is something you can do. If your customer tenants and suppliers has been aging, so you can really define it that if it's an old customer or it's a new customer, or it's something which is a customer with a medium contract. So you can really define it based on the customers the time that you have basically made a contract with the customer and how old that customer is for you. So these are the few examples that where the lookup range band really kicks in. But in broader summary, the main reason why we looked at both the field is to really know the difference between these two. Evaluated expression is basically, conditions, and it returns values based on those conditions. If the first one is true, then it will bring out that value. Whereas if you look at the lookup range band, it has a range defined and it returns the value based on that range. It doesn't have a condition per se to give out the value. It has a whole range to give us that value. So that's the first difference between both of them. For the evaluated expression to really work, the conditions must exist in Workday. You can't have cal fields doesn't exist in Workday, calculated field doesn't exist in Workday to make that evaluation. For the lookup range band to really do the evaluation, it's just a thing of the data being manually entered by them. So we have seen, right? We have to manually enter things and not rely on calculated fields to bring out conditions. You have to define your range, enter those range, and enter the constant value that you want to bring. So it's all a manual process when it comes to lookup range band. It's not like with the evaluated expression where you define some conditions, the conditions are already there in the tenant, and now you try and pull it. Evaluated expression can build, we have seen, right? It has different type. It can have text, Boolean, single instance, currency. It can bring out any type of value. Whereas the lookup range band has only a single one. It can only looks at the single instance fields and not the any other else. So if you are only dealing with a particular single value, if you're only dealing with where you want to only have to return a text field or a constant field and you can type it out, I think that's where you will still look up range band. Anything else, go back to evaluated expression. If default conditions, we have seen that with eval, there is a default conditions. If no conditions are met, it's mandatory to always have a default value so that you don't run into issues. Or so it's always a case where you have to define a default value when it comes to evaluated expression. Where on the lookup range band, you don't have to define any, default value. So if no value is true, the system will automatically gives you a blank value, just like we have defined it. The empty string, it will automatically be an empty string. So it works very naturally with the lookup arrangement, whereas the evaluated expression, you have to define a particular default value every time. I'll just pause here and basically this really sums up our evaluated expression and how they are being evaluated and how they're being used. And the lookup range pend and where it comes handy. Evaluated expressions are normally being used mostly when you're building out reports where there is a HR needs, or the HR has asked for a lot of business cases of who's earning what or who's coming into what scenario, what is the range bands. That's where if you want to simplify the report output to look at in a more fashionable and more designable way, and more in a fashion where it's more readable for a user, that's where the evaluated expression are mostly being used. And same with the case of lookup range band as well. To make a report more readable for a normal user, we use the evaluated expression as a whole. And once move forward, I hope you will really see it in action, that where you have the business cases of creating cal fields based on the condition logics. And if you want to really have your particular business requesting some data and they want this to be in a more optimized and readable way, that's where we'll have using the evaluated expressions. Okay, I'll stop here and we'll stop for the day as well. But before we actually do that, do we have any questions or anything you wanna ask?
Quick question, if I may, Upbeat.
Yeah.
About the report optimization, if I may clarify for myself, please. So you said that it depends on the calculated field that is being run in the system, but does actually created ones that are not being used by the system is going to slow down the system? For instance, let's assume I have a company and it has your Workday has 20,000 calculated field, but my report is actually using 5 of them. Is that 20,000 is going to slow down the tenant? Thank you.
So as I said, right, the fields which are being created doesn't really slow down the tenant if you're not using it. So that is one case. Normally, if you are very specific to your report and your cal fields, whatever happening in the background should not be bothering you or should not be a matter of concern for us. What we will do is we'll try and optimize the fields which is being used and optimize them, because again, there will be several other consultants working with you on your tenant, and we don't have a lot of control over who is going to create what fields, right? So it's always better to run the logs, look at what field we are using and how we can optimize the fields that we will be using, right? And what best we can do to optimize them. And this report, right, the report logs will give you a very good data of what fields you have to optimize in a manner where you can have maximum optimization of your reports.
Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. Then we'll end for the day today. We'll connect back tomorrow and we'll go to a new section and new things. So yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you for attending the session. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to ask your questions in the comment section below, and we will reply to them at the earliest.